In this video, we'll see how Servicely Governance, Risk and Compliance can provide a holistic view of governance, risk and compliance disciplines throughout the enterprise. The first thing you'll notice to the menu here on the left is we've got three different areas. We've got governance, we've got risk, and we've got compliance. Compliance would be the obligations that we would need to adhere to as an organization. So compliance frameworks, if you like, would then be the element to support this obligation. In this case, we can see we have an obligation here, which can either be a law, regulation, standard, or policy. And there's a set of related procedures that covers that as well. We can also see that we have controls in place under that particular procedure. We can see whether the control is auditable, the frequency, the type of control, the source of assurance, related records in the whole GRC framework, being procedures, risks, and practices, any particular control tasks that will need to be put in place, control attestations, and integrated risk management with regards to projects and changes, which can easily be extended to incidents and problems as well. In Servicely, compliance obligations relate to frameworks. So what that means is there will be a supporting framework in place as well, where we can come in here and we can see what type of framework we're talking about. Is it maturity-based, rule-based, policy-based, or procedure-based? We have the objectives and goals, scopes and boundaries, and then we have underlying domains. Domains will have capabilities. So in here we can see that we have various capabilities that will support this particular domain under security, and we can come in and we can see the particular domain and the particular capability and the related practices as well. So in this case we have a practice here which is incident detection, and what we can see is at all levels we're tracking maturity levels, desired state, as is state, and we can come in and we can see all the way down at the practice level what we're doing, and we have relationships to both controls and to risks. So everything in Servicely is interrelated. So what that means is our governance frameworks, our compliance obligations, and our risks will all be related. In this case, we can open up the risk, unmonitored email security risks, which will match the risk menu that we have here to the left. And we can see, first of all, here that we have a supporting workflow that will tell us how we manage and deal with risks. So everything is automated and put into context through a structured process. We have our compliance status as well. We have financial impact, the scope. We have our risk statement, drivers, and appetite. We have the current assessment of the risk level. We have the target that we would want to achieve, our response to that particular risk, and the remaining risk once we're done with all of our efforts. Of course, we can also retire the risk. We can relate the risk to both practices and procedures as well. And we can put plans in place that will help us sort a particular issue. And of course, we have the link to the compliance world as well with the relevant controls in place. And how do we measure this particular risk? In this case here, we can see we have a traffic light that would help us indicate whether or not we are breaching the risk level or the desired risk level that we would want to achieve for a particular risk. Now, managing risks and compliance and governance will not be anything without having a reporting overview. That's where MyGRC comes into place. MyGRC will give us a decision dashboard that will help us from a strategic perspective understand what are the different frameworks that we have, what are the current state, the obligations that we're trying to adhere to. We have our risks in terms of their relationship to compliance. We have our current risk landscape with a heat map, which is of course interactive, right? So we can come in here and we can see what are the relevant risks according to likelihood and impact. We can see our risks according to compliance levels. We can see our target risk picture in terms of where we would want to be. The residual risk once we're done, so this is obviously where we would like to have everything being green. And we have our controls as well, right? So how many of our controls needs auditing? What's our control frequency? And we can come in here and we can see how we're currently doing from a risk perspective, so the stuff that impacts our business. So here we have a traffic light approach that will immediately tell us red, amber, green, from a key risk indicator perspective, what have we measured on a weekly, a monthly, and a quarterly basis, and easily from here come in and understand what's our current risk landscape, what does that look like. We also have the opposite side of that coin, which is the framework maturity level, right? So in this case, we're monitoring SOC 2 and ISO 27001 and the desired risk states compared to our as-is landscape. So here we can come in and identify the gap between the different frameworks that we put in place, and we can do that all the way down to a domain, practice, and capability level. So what we would want to see is, of course, that we have equal size bars for each of the domains that we've got under control, and each of the practices and each of the capabilities. And all of these can be reused given a flexible relational data model across different frameworks and compliance disciplines, so that we make sure that we have any practice that would match multiple frameworks that would essentially then be reused, and we have a structured approach to managing all of the different requirements that we have from a framework perspective, an obligation perspective, and a risk perspective in a holistic manner.